Hello, my wonderful people. It's good to see you, except for you, Ralph. You can go to hell. Anyway, this is Coffee with Carl, episode number 48. And I got to tell you, there really wasn't a whole lot that came out this week. There was a few things, and we're going to get to those in a minute. First, I actually want to tell you a little bit of a story. And now, this is like how off the cuff this whole thing is. I mean, I just finished editing the video about Carhartt bibs. And so you may hear my computer over here whirring and doing its thing as it renders that video. A lot of times those videos that have a lot of overlays and B-roll and stuff like that, man, they really are resource hogs, and it just takes a long time to get through it. This is the newer M2 chip in my Mac, which is a lot faster than my old one, more efficient. And I gotta say, it was definitely worth the upgrade. And I think I'll probably stick with this one until something happens because, you know, while it takes a little while, perfect example is that while that thing's working and doing its thing, I can do other stuff. So you may hear a little bit of computer noise in the background there, but hey, that's what you sign up for, right? But I wanted to tell you a little bit of a story today before we get into the releases, and there are some, and there's some cool stuff to talk about. But the first thing is, so there's a little breakfast place that we like to go to, and a lot of times during the summer, we will take a day and the family will ride our bikes to this place called LaSalle Market, which is in a little town called Collinsville. And in Collinsville, they used to make axes. There was the Collins Company that made axes and all kinds of stuff. And from what I understand, actually, the Collinsville factory itself was not the only place that they made axes. They also had a place, I think, in Hartford and other places around the country, and even maybe outside the country. But right now, that old axe factory is an antique shop, and it's fun to walk through there and just see the stuff that they have. They have really neat, like, antique tools and all that kind of stuff. You know, a lot of times I leave there and, you know, my wife's going like, you don't need that, don't buy it. A while back, they had a full jail cell door, like old school bars with like the lock, the key, the thing, you know, and it was like $800. And I saw it, I was like, oh, I should get that. Now, I don't know why I wanted that. I mean, it was like from the 40s or something. I mean, it just looked cool. It looked like something out of an old Western. I don't have a forklift to install something like that, and I don't really need it, but it was one of those things that I probably could have convinced myself that I needed, you know, and people would have questions like, why do you have a jail cell at your house? But I would cross that bridge when I came to it. Anyway, we go to this place there called LaSalle Market. Try to do that once a weekend. Like I said, we ride our bikes out there. They have really good food, and it's a good like 7 miles there, 7 miles back. It's a great little round trip. I look forward to it. I really do. Anyway, we were there last week, and there was a guy. I'm going to try to like replicate the way this looked. All right. So we're sitting at our table eating, and I see a guy who's sitting with another guy, and he's got his phone up like this, right? So you could see one of my eyes, right? And it looked like he was looking at me. And I thought, like, probably recording me or something, because the way he's holding his phone was like this. And I'm like, what is that guy doing? Like, I'm looking at him, and I'm just like, you know, kind of give him the, what are you doing there, pal? You know? And he didn't react. I'm like, this guy, I'm starting to get kind of pissed. Like, not that I think he's recording me in particular or whatever, but like, why are you recording anything? Like, it's just kind of strange. Number one, I really don't want people like recording me or my family or taking pictures or anything like that. And I'm not saying it from like a weird, like, you know, internet celebrity thing, but I mean, just like anybody in general, right? Like, you're in public with anyone and like, you don't want somebody taking your pictures. That's kind of lame. So I'm starting to get kind of pissed, and I'm just like, you know, I'm looking at him, and I'm about to go like, dude, what's going on? What are you doing? And he puts his phone down, and he had a glass eye that was like obviously not moving, but he had his phone up to his face, and it was probably like, if both eyes were looking at the screen, you would have just seen him like this, right? But instead, one eye is kind of reading the thing, and the other eye is just staring straight ahead. And it looked to me like he was like he was recording me. And it reminded me of a story that I heard about James Hetfield and the song Wasting My Hate by Metallica. And that song was about, I guess he was in a cafe or a diner or something like that, and it was nighttime, and he was looking outside, and there was somebody who was sitting in their car, and he thought that the guy was just like outside the car staring at him. And so he's looking at him, and he's like, you know, doing the same thing I was, like, dude, what's going on? What are you doing? You know? And so he said he ate his whole meal, and this guy just wasn't moving. He was just staring at him. And so he's starting to get freaked out. And then he went outside and realized he was asleep. So the song's called Wasting My Hate, because, you know, he's inside stewing, just like, dude, what are you doing? You know? And come to find out the guy's sleeping. I think that it's just, it's, no matter what happens, we always have that skeptical part of our brain, which is always assuming the worst. And that's how we've survived. Right? I mean, like, I get it. You can't be naive. You can't go through life going, you know, well, everything's fine. You know, everybody's cool. Like, you know, and whatever. But I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. But sometimes when all the evidence that you're presented with looks like one thing, it's hard to kind of, it's hard to think anything else. But that's happened to me before, where, you know, I've been like, you know, I've jumped to conclusions and I've been wrong. That's definitely happened. And I've adopted this this kind of mindset of don't think of somebody else as particularly being mean or being malicious towards you, when you can simply attribute it to stupidity. You know, people who are on the road who cut me off in traffic, they're probably not trying to be mean. They're probably just stupid and didn't see me or whatever. And I've definitely been stupid, probably 5 times today. So it's not like I'm outside of it, but you know, it's like I always think that, like, look, they're probably not being mean, they're probably not being aggressive or malicious. They're probably just being stupid. And more times than not, that's the case. People are just going around doing their thing, you know? And I think most people are simply operating in that bubble. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I just thought of this. This is something I want to talk about as far as a new release. And I know that we sometimes venture outside the realm of workwear and clothing and stuff like that. But did you see that SVS has a new subwoofer? So a while back, I bought the SVS SB 4000, right? Which is a pretty big, like, I think it's like a 14-inch woofer. And it's for your home theater, right? And I had this thing downstairs, and I mean, it just shook the room. It was like, wow, this thing it's serious. I love it. Matter of fact, I'm looking at it right now. It's a great piece. It's like 90 pounds, and it's fantastic. Now, the room I'm in upstairs here is much bigger, right? This room is like 30 feet by, maybe it's 30 foot squared. It's pretty big. And up here, it works fine. But they do have an what do they have? The Ultra 16, right? Which has a 16-inch woofer. And I've always been like, maybe I should get something like that, a little more air movement, you know what I mean? Because I love that. I'm always chasing that sort of big concert rumble, you know, that hits you in the chest, kind of, you know, that you get when you're at a rock concert. Well, SVS came out with their, I think it's called their 17 Ultra Pro or something like that. And it's even bigger. Now, there are companies I know, like, is it Rel, who make big giant subwoofers and stuff like that. I've liked the SVS sound. They have a certain tuning to them that I feel has a nice thickness to the sound. But they just came out with that. And they also came out with their Evolution series of speakers, which have a really cool looking bend to them. And home theater is like a whole other thing you can get into. When we talk about diminishing return, now there's a place that you find diminishing return. But I thought that was cool. It was a neat looking sub. And I have, like I said, I have this SB 4000. And in my gym, I have their, is it the SB 3000 Pro, which has dual firing woofers that are out of phase. So when the thing's rocking, you can put your hand on top of it, and the speakers are more or less canceling each other out, even though they're still firing. So when one is, you know, a speaker will vibrate to make noise. When they're out of phase, when one is going in, the other is pushing out. So it more or less cancels the other. And it's amazing because you could set like a glass of water on it and it won't move at all. And the thing will be like, poof, poof, poof. It's pretty cool. To me, though, that has been the cornerstone of a good sounding system. I like rock, metal, you know, and even just like venturing outside of those genres, I find that I need a good, solid subwoofer to enjoy it. And there are some exceptions to the rule. You know, you want something light and airy and kind of, you know, that type of thing. But for what I listen to most of the time, I need something that's got some nice rock solid bottom end to it. So anyway, let's get on to the other news that I didn't just think of off the top of my head. The first thing I actually wanted to tell you about is so Baker's Boots, right, have a lot of Wesco Jobmaster lace to toes in stock. Matter of fact, they have so many that they've decided to discount them. Now, this is interesting because Wesco has been known for long lead times. When I ordered my Mr. Lou's, it was almost 2 years to the date that I got them. So that's not every model of theirs, but if you have the opportunity to get a pair of Wesco lace to toes for less, they marked these down. These are originally $509. They marked them down to $479, so you're saving some money there. And you can get them, then I suggest it. Wesco has certainly got a bit of a, I don't want to say they got a bad reputation, because that's not the case. I think they have a good reputation. Most people who have them really like them. My Job Masters were great. They never failed me once, and I would say that the finishing on those was probably among the best I saw out of the PNW Pacific Northwest to that point. So if you have a chance to get yourself a pair of Wescos, I would certainly do it. I think that some of the rumors that were going around about them, a particular video that came out, which showed it really kind of wasn't a fair fight. It was not a direct Wesco model. It was a collaborative model, and then there was just a lot of back and forth there. There's videos on it if you want to go and check it out. More or less, I think there was some conflicting information which wasn't necessarily the most truthful that came out, and most people who have Wescos really like them. I know a lot of people who really love their Wescos, and I have had nothing but good experiences with the two pairs that I've owned, my Mr. Lou's and my Wesco Jobmasters. The Jobmaster lace to toe, I think, is probably one of the best looking lace to toe models out there, and really cool, smaller shop. Matter of fact, most people don't know this. Wesco is not much bigger than Frank's as far as like employees. So they're a smaller shop, American made, still independent, and responsible for some of the coolest models out there. The Mr. Lou is probably the best looking engineer boot with that MP toe, I think, coming out of the Pacific Northwest right now. I mean, you have other, Nix has their Station Master and their Pullman, and then, of course, White's has theirs and stuff, but I think that Mr. Lou just has a certain something to it. And of course, there's the Boss boot. There's a lot of good stuff. Wesco history goes far back. And I also like them because while, there's the Spokane brands, Nix, White's, Frank's, then over in Scappoose, Washington, which I think is the name of their town, is Wesco. So they're sort of like separate from that whole group, which I think is cool. I'm sure they still share a lot of the same workers and stuff like that. But if you can get yourself a pair of these, I certainly suggest it. If you were in the market for a good pair of Pacific Northwest boots, but you don't want to spend $500, $600 and up, you can get these for $479, which is a pretty smoking deal for a brand new pair of Wescos. So go over to Baker's Boots, get yourself a pair of those. You'll dig them, I promise. Gustin just launched a pair of Harris Tweed 5-pocket pants. Now, Harris Tweed has a really interesting history to it. If you don't know about Harris Tweed, it can only be woven in one place. That's the Outer Hebrides of Scotland, and it's a very interesting story. I don't have time to go into it right now, but there's a whole thing with lawsuits and protection and all kinds of stuff. It's a fascinating fabric. But you probably know it as the thick, dense wool stuff that you see in thrift shops because there's a ton of it there. But Gustin has taken that and what could be definitely considered an old man fabric and simply reinterpreted it into a pair of 5-pocket pants, which are similar to your jeans, right? And I got to tell you, they did a great job here. Now, the only thing I would say is if you're going to do them in Harris Tweed, because it's a thicker fabric, you may want to be careful about some things, especially that 5th pocket. Personally, I would have eliminated that. There's no real need for it, but that's my own use. I just think that when you start piling and adding up layers of Harris Tweed, it can become a problem. And so you may have an issue with that, depending on how thick this is. But then again, maybe you love the 5th pocket and you use it, and I'm an idiot. That's entirely possible. I know many people who would agree with you there. But either way, these look really, really cool. They're $199, and this is one of those things, again, where you have to sort of back it before they make it. Right now, it's 45% funded, but I gotta tell you, these look really cool, and a great way to... Maybe if you're not into trousers, like I'm not. I don't like trousers that much. I don't like the side opening pockets. I don't like dockers. I like jeans. I like the where my hands go into my pockets. I like everything about them, and I'm used to that. I've been wearing jeans my entire life, so when I wear something else, it's usually like really jarring. And so this is a good way to have something that almost looks like a dress pant or somewhere in between, but has the familiarity of a 5-pocket pant. $199, that's not a bad deal. So go check these out. Ironheart. Now I'm going to keep talking about Ironheart because they keep releasing cool stuff. And this is another part of their fall winter line. This is their ultra heavy flannel, which we talked about before. We did. All right. Now there's a couple reasons I want to talk about this. Number one, it's a weird combination that they're calling gray, but I think that we would all probably agree this is more magenta. Now, there is some gray in it, yes, but I think the dominant color here is that magenta, which looks really cool. So it's just interesting that they would have called it the Ironheart Ultra Heavy Flannel Check Western Gray when it's, I think that's, and again, not the dominant color. Okay, what's interesting about this, though, is if you notice, if you're, paying attention to the Ironheart thing, right? This is 11 ounce, which is a little bit lighter, 1 ounce lighter, as a matter of fact, than their other ultra heavy flannel. And the reason for that is because the ultra heavy flannels used what they would call a sparrow cotton. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Now, in the interest of sustainability, Ironheart said that they have developed a heavy fabric with the same high quality using alternative cotton. Now, I think that that's probably true. Ironheart definitely has a history of delivering on their promises. I love their stuff. I haven't had an Ironheart product that hasn't been excellent. So this certainly could be the reason, but it's still $380 and they're using a different cotton. I would like to feel one compared to the other, see how they break in, see them after a couple of years, and then make a decision. But right off the bat, it's like the thing that made them really great, they've changed or altered, and it could be for the better or it could be for the worse. I don't know, but I'm skeptical because this is a legendary shirt, and messing with that formula can be tricky. However, it's in the interest of sustainability. You got to give them credit for that. So I don't know. This is just kind of on the fence for me. I won't be buying it, but maybe you will. And if you do, report back. Let me know how it is. All right, and finally, we've got to talk about this. Thursday came out with I guess it's a shoe called the Showtime. And this is flying very close to copyright infringement, trademark infringement, whatever, because they look a lot like... You know what I'm saying, right? They look a lot like a very popular sneaker named after a very popular basketball player. And I think that they've really, really pushed the line of looking maybe too much like that. Now, outside of that, because I'm sure that the people over there at Thursday have done all their research and done everything they can to simply walk on the other side of that line as to not, piss off that very popular sneaker brand. But outside of that, they're a look. They are a look for sure. In any of the other colors, I still don't care for them. But that's totally my thing. They just look a little strange. They do have them in natural shinky cordovan for $520. That's their black label line. And then they have them at $425 from several different tanneries, it looks like here. But of course, the one that I'm looking at is $360. And now here's the cool thing about these, though, okay? I think they're absolutely the scariest, gaudiest looking thing I've seen in a long time. But what is kind of cool about this, I will say, is that 100% of the profits go to hurricane relief. And so it's in support of the Red Cross, to their hurricane relief fund. and that's pretty damn cool. So, you know, my initial gut reaction of ugh turned into, you know what? That's all right. I'm not getting them. I mean, I'm definitely not getting these, but now I go, all right, you know, I see what they're doing. I think that's pretty cool. And I got to give them credit for having some fun and being adventurous. I always think that's a good idea. Most of the time, if you try that, you're going to strike out. And I think they did with these, but I really applaud their bravery in trying something new and interesting. So, well done, Thursday. So I told you there really wasn't going to be a whole lot this week. I mean, I'm sure other things have come out, and I'm certainly missing some of them. I know Filson did some stuff and some other, brands and stuff like that. But I try to keep it tight and interesting and the stuff that I personally like. By the way, it's finally starting to get cool enough that I can rock my Wonder Looper sweatpants again. Now, as you know, I film these in the mornings, right? So this is Saturday morning, it's early, it's cold out, and these are thick and dense and heavy, and I love them. And I finally got to bring them out of the closet because it started to dip down into the 30s at night here, and that to me, that's Wonder Looper territory. Wonder Looper is a really great company if you haven't checked them out yet. I think I don't know if they just introduced their Fox fiber, but just always coming out with these amazing heavyweight pieces. Bezod, if you remember him from Naked and Famous, of course, their live stream and stuff like that. He and his wife are now doing that for Wonder Looper, so you can still go and see him doing that. Really, really cool people. And I like seeing cool people do well. I think we all do, right? I mean, when I can tie a personality to the brand, it means everything. And that works both ways, right? So I really like Bezod, and he's always been so cool to me. Randomly, he will send me boxes of like Japanese candies and like cool things that he finds, and like who does that? That's just so cool. And it can work the opposite way too, because there are some brands that I simply won't mention, who I have a bad feeling toward because of the people behind them and what they've done, and I just simply don't talk about them because, my mother told me, if you don't have anything nice to say, then just don't say anything at all. And I try not to. So that's why that goes that way. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I always enjoy talking to you. We are starting to come up on Halloween, my favorite time of year, and I am trying to soak it all up. It's going to be a great weekend. My son and I are going to a car show today with my truck, and just good weekend ahead. So I'm really excited for that. But this is a great way to kick it off with you here. And I hope, because it's Wednesday for you, I hope that you've had a good week so far. And I hope that the rest of your week is spectacular. And I will see you guys next week. We're going to go to the patrons only segment right now. But of course, if you would like, please sign up for the email list. Subscribe to the channel if you want to. And check out Patreon if you're really a rock star. Because we have a lot of fun over there. And I can talk a little bit more openly with members of the Patreon with the private videos than I can in this open setting. So I hope to see you over there. Maybe go just check it out. You can join for free and see what it's all about. If not, if you want to listen or watch, totally up to you, and I'm totally fine, and I'm glad you're here. And I'll catch you next time.